I'd never leave the house without making the bed.
When you
first thing
make
in
your
the morning.
bed, do you tuck everything back in, the corners, all that stuff? Do you do a tight corner?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
everything.
shake- I do
So my
shake the
wife is
sheets.
watching right now saying, "Can you teach him to do that?"
I mean, I think. Welcome back to The Fly-In. I'm your host, Greg Landsman.
I'm Marc Veasey.
Welcome back from our Memorial Day recess, district work period. We got a lot to cover. We've got Congressman Troy Carter here from New Orleans. We're going to talk about the assault on voting rights and the attack on black districts. Troy's been living this, so getting your perspective on this sort of moment in American history and also what you've been going through for the last couple of weeks. We're going to get into reconciliation part 2. They're trying to spend another $70 billion on ICE and the unprecedented corruption that we're seeing from the Trump administration. And we're going to play a little game involving Gumbo because you're here.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
All right, so let's get into it. Welcome, Troy.
Happy to be here with you guys.
He makes good gumbo too, by the way.
Troy.
Oh my! It's,
He's had some.
Oh, sorry. I don't
You
know
got
why
the
I
last
said that.
little bit in
Not
Vail.
only does he make good gumbo, I was late for a gumbo-related event, and Troy was nice enough he had saved a bunch for a couple people. And then I got there, and he decided to take a little bit out of each of what was saved and made me a bowl. It was unbelievable. It was so good.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
good.
It's
And
a lot of fun.
And it takes you how many hours?
It's an all-day affair. I bring everything up from Louisiana. I bring everything fresh from Louisiana. So you can't make Louisiana gumbo with product that comes from somewhere else. So we
Yeah.
bring everything up the morning of. I start prepping, and then people start arriving. And just about the time it's ready, we're ready to serve.
When did you start making gumbo? Like, when did making gumbo? When was it a big part
It's
of
a
your life?
family. It's a family thing.
So you've been doing it since you were a
my
kid.
wife is a great cook, but she doesn't cook the traditional kind of stuff. So I want my kids to make sure that they enjoy, gumbo and jambalaya and shrimp creole and those things. So I do it.
Yeah.
And it's my therapy, right? I mean, I come from a big family, one of 6. My mother was a great cook. My grandmother was a great cook. All of my family were great cooks. So it's kind of innate. I can't say that anybody ever taught me to do it. I don't remember anybody saying, do it this way.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never written it down. I do now because I share the recipe like most people don't, but I'll share it with people. But I enjoy it. So it's my therapy. It's fun. I love cooking for the caucus. I love cooking for members.
You're a
and it's
happy
been fun.
guy. You're a happy guy, and you're one of my favorite people to work with, in part because you're a happy guy. But you're also, when I remember, because I sort of was at the tail end of you having worked all day. You got up very early in the morning to make, and you were just like in your element. You were just so full of joy. Like, that was cool to see.
Great, man.
Yeah.
Life is short. Better to enjoy it.
That's right. Troy Carter has probably the best gumbo I've ever had in my entire
It
life.
was so good.
It's,
I
it's
will
that
say,
good. It is literally that good. I would not bestow that on. I've told him that before. I would not bestow that on anyone unless I meant it, because people come to me and ask me for recommendations on where to eat, and so I take it very seriously. It is literally the best gumbo I've ever had.
Man, I'm happy to hear that.
Your gumbo skills, are they on your Wikipedia page? We always ask people what's not on your Wikipedia page that people should know or that you want to share, like something.
I don't know that's on my Wikipedia page, although I am a foodie too. So I take photographs and I send pictures so people know that I like to cook.
Yeah.
And so I would say that it would not be so much of a secret that Troy Carter likes to cook, or that I'm quite proud of my gumbo.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be one of the things that I think would be very hard to find out about me.
Yeah. I mean, in the cooking is therapeutic.
It is. In the lives that we live,
Mm-hmm.
we we're managing issues, we're managing problems, we're managing legislation,
Personalities.
proposals, personalities, issues, often that never have a real closure. But cooking does. So it gives you a chance to have something that you can complete.
Yeah.
And in the lives that we live, we go from one problem to the next problem, one issue to the next issue. So you never have that sense of, we completed that.
Yeah,
because there's
everything's
always
sort of
something else kind of lurking around the corner for your attention. But you can cook a big pot of gumbo. You can make a pot of red beans and rice, and you can watch people eat it and hear the kind things that you gentlemen have said. And it's fulfilling. So it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. Almost everything we do is a work in progress. It does not end.
Right.
And one of my favorite things to do.
But a
when
pot
I'm-
of gumbo, especially a good pot of
Yeah,
gumbo,
does end.
does come to an end.
Yeah.
An empty pot if you
Yeah.
did it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get right into the voting
Yeah.
rights stuff. And the Supreme Court, gutting, Section 5, Section 2. Voting rights has been, under attack for over a decade now, and now they're coming after black districts, including yours. So you have Republican politicians in the South taking up new maps that eliminate black districts, and this was and really is happening in Louisiana, and you've been on the front line. So how would you describe this chapter in American history? Because I think we're living through history, a moment of history, that's going to be talked about forever. And how would you describe this moment, for the country, and then how's it been for you?
It's a very dark chapter in America's history. It's a very dark chapter when we see the reversal of rights, when we see the literal attack on the Voting Rights Act, document that's meant so much to so many, and people who have paid such an incredible price for us to enjoy it. We all have been on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. We felt the echoing and the spirits of John Lewis and many others who were beaten, spat on, and risked their lives to give us the opportunity to be able to vote, and then to see in a fell swoop justices that feel a sense of belonging or allegiance to President Trump summarily take it away. It's a gut punch. It's a gut punch. And while we all anticipated that it was going to come, that there was going to be something that was going to happen with Louisiana v. Callais and the Voting Rights Act, it's like death. You think you're ready for it until it comes, and you're never really ready. So when this came, one, we thought it was going to happen much later in the summer, which meant that we would not have it impact this cycle. We would deal with it in 28. Unfortunately, we know that it came at a time that we thought was too late to impact us. But our governor suspended our elections midterm. Our elections were going on. 40,000 plus individuals had sent in their early voting ballots. People who were serving in the military, people who were serving abroad, our senior citizens who are 80, 90, 100 years old. Well, when you cast that ballot, that may very well be the last. That is the quintessential definition of irreparable harm. But my governor got on 60 Minutes and said, oh, no big deal. Let them just vote again. Well, it's just not that easy. And to watch this
Or
play
legal.
out,
I mean, it's just
Right.
That's disenfranchising.
it's,
right?
it's
I mean,
disenfranchised. It's unconstitutional. It's everything that you can imagine. It's un-American. Rather, you fit inside the four corners of
So
the law,
cavalier
or
to
you
say
push it
that,
out.
too.
But to just suggest no big deal.
Yeah.
So when we look at what happened with Louisiana v. Callais, although the scene of the crime is Louisiana, the ramifications of Louisiana v. Callais go far beyond the confines of Louisiana, or the seats that were in jeopardy in my state. It's school boards, it's House and Senate legislative seats, it's city council seats. It's anywhere there's a district is subject to this ridiculous ruling that, on one hand, it's okay to gerrymander for political or partisan gain, but then on the other hand, you make it next to impossible to defend yourself against discrimination, because now you have to prove intent. Well, how do I prove what's in your heart? You can't.
No,
If a
you
person calls you a bad name, you say, well, I didn't mean it. I got to take your word for it.
Yeah.
Because I can't prove what you meant.
Right.
And the same thing, and I think the Supreme Court justices knew that by giving this next to impossible task, like during Jim Crow. Guess how many jelly beans are in this jar, and I'll let you vote. Guess how many bubbles are in a bar of soap, and you can vote. Well, those are impossible tasks, and you knew it. Although you're technically saying, yes, you can vote, but here's the condition. And yes, you can, but here's the condition that can't be met. So in Louisiana, we watched this play out. And I'll tell you a real quick story that's worth the listen, I think. In the very seat that I sit, in the seat representing primarily New Orleans and river parishes and up to Baton Rouge, there was a gentleman named John Willis Menard. 150 years ago. The first African American anywhere in the world, not Louisiana, anywhere in our country, to be elected to Congress.
This is Reconstruction.
Yes.
Before Jim Crow.
And he went to Washington with expectations of being sworn in. A gentleman went to the floor, the very floor that we go to argue in today, and said, America is not ready for a Negro to serve in Congress. And summarily, they did not seat John Willis Menard. 150 years later, Troy Carter sits in that very seat. 150 years later, we now face the same type of Jim Crow hatred and the same kind of racism that happened then, watching people be elected in Louisiana, in New Orleans. There was an election with Calvin Duncan, who ran for criminal district court. The governor didn't like Calvin Duncan. They summarily obliterated his seat before he was sworn in. They had a legislative instrument to combine his seat with another seat, and it went away before he was ever sworn in. So I say that to say, here we are. This is 2026, and we're watching our rights erode. We're watching the guardrails of democracy being battered by a president who doesn't believe in our Constitution, who doesn't believe in the rule of law. Louisiana's been at the epicenter because of the name of the lawsuit and because of the premise of it. But the reality is our whole country's at risk.
But it's really fascinating, though, because you talk about the history in New Orleans, and it was Homer Plessy, right?
Yes.
You think back then, and that was the Supreme Court beginning after Reconstruction ended.
Separate
in a
but equal
series
doctrine.
of cases, right? A
Yeah.
series of cases that started to slowly just dismantle all of the gains that African Americans had made after the Civil War and after Reconstruction was enacted. And you had a very compliant court that wanted to, help these southern states sort of turn the clock back. And it seems like that's what's happening again.
And it's been a slow chipping away.
Absolutely.
Project 2025 was not an accident.
No.
Project 2025 was very well thought out. It's a very evil plan, very methodical. The individual who was the mastermind or the key architect is from Louisiana, studied African American history, has a undergraduate master's and a PhD in African American history. That's a lot of investment to invest in hate. That's a lot of investment to study a people to determine how to dismantle them. And that should say something about the state of play of where we are in this country.
How are you handling or approaching this, as Troy Carter?
So I am writing it down. My team will tell you that they get 3 a.m. text messages and op-eds and thoughts all the time because I catalog. I have these wakeful moments. I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't get back to sleep. I pull my phone out and I start writing. So I write events about what I saw today, what's going on, what I'm thinking now. And I will tell you, like many people, for me, for someone who has been a student of government, I teach at the university level, juniors and seniors who are getting ready to go to law school. So someone who has been on the academic side, the practical side of government policy and public policy, I've often asked myself, what would I have done?
Right, exactly.
During the civil rights movement? Would I have been someone who was turning the other cheek? Or would I have been the one saying, no, let's get a baseball bat and go get him? I don't know the answer to that. And so now I have an opportunity to say, now I get to say what I would do. And I'm very grateful to be in the mix, to be a part of coming up with meaningful discussions and policy and working with fine gentlemen like you and so many others within our caucus to demonstrate that we can be a part of the solution. And I often tell people when I speak, let no story be written, let no book be written, let no TV story be aired that asks the question that you can't answer. Where were you when they came for our democracy?
Yeah.
I'm proud to be able to say we were in the fight.
Yeah, that's right.
Democrats were in the fight. We were standing up. We were standing with the chorus of people who said, listen, we're not going to let you take our democracy away. We're not going to let you deny the rights of African Americans, Hispanics, or women, or LGBTQ brothers and sisters. We're going to make sure that that we're able to advance a democracy where everyone has a voice, and it's rewarding, and it's a heavy burden at the same time.
Your district was on the chopping blocks, and probably remains there. Right? You're not in a safe place because God knows what they're going to do in the future now that they're able to, essentially do what they want.
Yeah.
But they, there was a day or two, maybe longer. You tell me, where they were coming after your district. They were going to get rid of your district, and that was going to be. Was there a part of you that thought, okay, maybe I can be done?
As much as we like to believe this stuff is about us, it's way bigger than us.
Yeah.
We lost a seat, and it's unfortunate that Louisiana is 1/3 African American. Simple math: we have 6 members of Congress. There should be 2. There should be 2 seats where African Americans have the right to elect someone of their choosing. But we're losing one. We're losing one in Cleo Fields, who's a great member of Congress.
Great.
And that should not be the case. But as Cleo and I both have said, and all other members who are impacted, these battles are way bigger than any of us individually. It's about generations to go.
Yeah.
In Congress, we know this. We're outvoted, but we're not outvoiced.
Right.
And, so you take away 1 seat, you take away 2 seats. Listen,
I ain't going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't usually quote Bruce Lee, but I will this time. It's hard to beat a man that never quits.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to quit. And I know you aren't going to quit.
Yeah.
And we as Democrats aren't going to quit.
No.
And so I can honestly say, and it's not lost on me that on any given day they could take it away next term.
Yeah.
I just can't let myself live that way. I love serving, but I've served on the city council. I served in the state house. I served in the state senate, and I now serve in Congress. I don't have to be in elective office to serve.
We got a new reconciliation bill. They've had a hard time passing it. It's believe it or not, they spent $180 billion on ICE in the first round in the one big beautiful bill. So reconciliation 1. They want to add another $70 billion. That's $240 billion. That's a $250 billion on immigration enforcement, which is really the construction of these massive warehouses where they're going to just lock people up.
Many of which are in my home state, Louisiana.
Yeah. Is this going to pass? Obviously, they've got issues because of the president's slush fund for January 6ers and some other things, the ballroom. But what's your take on this? I mean, how is it possibly smart for them? They don't need the money. Like this is. I don't understand politically or from a policy standpoint what they're doing here. I really don't.
They're front loading. I'll tell you exactly what I think they're doing. I think they're front loading in anticipation of Democrats taking over at midterm. They're front loading as much cash as they can to fund Trump's army. The resources that they want to embed in ICE is to make sure, just like the $1.776 billion slush fund, to reward the January 6th insurrectionists. That's to send a message: break the law for me, and I will protect you. Not only will I pardon you, I will enrich you. And I'm creating a fund so I can make you whole. Look at the subliminal. It's not even subliminal. It's not a dog whistle anymore. It's a bugle, right? And he's saying, break the law for me. I got your back.
Yeah.
And that's why you have the great, big, ugly bill. That's why you have these ridiculous numbers for ICE and CBP. That's why you have ridiculous numbers for slush funds. That's why he wants to have these immunity clauses for he and his entire family. Why do you want that unless you have some nefarious plans?
Well, I think you're right. I think there is the sort of power building in terms of what he thinks will be his army, but there is the corruption piece of it too, and
well, all of it's embedded around that because
Yeah,
you look at the $660 million that just went to some barely startup in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Finds out that Trump Jr. was an investor in it. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up.
The no bid contract on the reflecting pool.
The no bid contract on reflecting pool, the money going to, I mean, it's just a massive
The
amount of money
drones,
going
the
to Don
drones,
Jr.
the drones
Yeah.
that are
But
that
you
are.
know, these are private prisons that are building these, and these are all huge donors, and he is funneling money back to his donors in so many different ways.
Or to himself.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at his net worth since the second, I mean, he was on the ropes after the first one, right? When he became president again, his numbers started rising
He's
significantly.
$10 billion richer.
Yes.
By some estimates, $10 billion richer in 16, 17, 18 months.
Well, one of his kids, if you recall, he was given an interview last year and basically said that because so many people prevented his dad from getting any loans from banks during his first tenure as presidency, that they were entitled to go out and earn as much money as they possibly
Trump
could.
has said this in the 2-hour interview that he did with the New York Times. Everyone should go back and read that New York Times interview. He says, "Look, I tried to play by the rules my first term, and no one cared in his mind, and so I'm doing whatever I want this time as it relates to any number of things." But he was speaking particularly. At that point about his businesses. He's trying to make as much money as humanly possible, and it is it's stunning. And we're going to announce in the next week or so, I think the most comprehensive anti-corruption bill ever. We're going to call it the Drain the Swamp Act. All of the pieces of reform that we've talked about, just so that we have a vehicle. And this is something I know that our folks are going to lead on. New Dems in particular are going to lead on massive reforms to clean this up. It's going to take us years. I mean, it's going to take us years.
But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another part that Republicans in general are starting to understand. And as New Dems, we pride ourselves with being recognized as being pro-business. We're not anti-business. We want permitting reform. We want to make sure that businesses have a right, an opportunity to progress. We just want to make sure that it's done properly. We want to make sure that
rules.
that there are rules. We want to make sure that safety standards are not watered down. But what's happening now is for business people having the instability of a Trump administration and the precedent that they're setting of rules being changed every 2 or every 4 years. Well, how does a business business
can't.
person
This is a
forecast?
terrible
How does a
environment for
business
businesses.
person set up and perform their businesses, not knowing if the rules are going to change every 2 or 4 years? It's a horrible formula. And they're starting to realize this isn't good for business regardless of what side of the coin you're
Yeah,
on.
that's right.
And that's why New Dems are perfectly positioned to stand up and say, we want stability.
Before we let you go, we've got to play a quick game.
All right.
This is a Gumbo-based game. It's a sort of take on this or that. So
This or that.
yeah.
This or that.
This or that.
there's
All
not
right.
an episode of The Flying without Mark singing something.
Something from the 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
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 Da-dum.
Yeah.
Yeah, this or that. All right. I'll do the first one, Mark. We'll just go back and forth.
Okay.
Okay. What do you prefer? So this is this or that, seafood gumbo or sausage gumbo.
Seafood.
Why? Sorry.
Because
I just thought it would be sausage.
seafood's very unique because you can do sausage anywhere, but seafood has to come from a place that has seafood.
That's right.
Right? So sausage you can do anywhere in the world. And I do a pretty good mean sausage but seafood is very special because when I do seafood here in District of Columbia, I bring my shrimp up, I bring my oysters up, I bring the crabs up, all fresh from Louisiana, out of the waters of Louisiana, for which we're very proud
Yeah.
of.
Chicken or turkey?
Chicken or turkey? Chicken.
Okay. Why is that?
Chicken is because you can use the smaller parts. Turkey is not something I'm customary to have in gumbo. It's not something that we do.
Yeah.
You use the chicken drumettes, people who use that part of the chicken. I use chicken breast.
Yeah.
I boil the chicken breast and then it's seasoned, and then I use these big claws and shred it. And it makes for a much better gumbo.
What's your go-to seasoning?
Tony Sachery's. Tony Sachery's. But the reality is there's a whole bunch of different stuff. So when you're making that roux, the most important part of gumbo is making the roux. You get your roux right, and then you use your fresh seasonings, and then there's the holy trinity, which is the chopped onions, the bell pepper, and celery, and
Yeah.
that is the holy trinity that goes into the roux to cool it down and then thicken it and
Right.
go much further. I'll give you my whole down
I
recipe.
love that. I love that.
Speaking of roux, dark roux or lighter roux?
Dark roux. It's
Why?
a medium dark. It gives a richness. It's not dark burnt like some people. Mine is like a medium caramel. It's rich enough that it's appealing. Some
not
people have
overwhelming.
this notion that gumbo should have that smoky taste. That's somebody who burnt the roux. When the gumbo is smoky, that's a burnt roux. That means you cooked it too long. And some people think that's how it's supposed to be, so then they go and do it. But in my grandma's house, if it's smoky, the roux is burnt.
Wow. Okay. Okra, no okra.
2 different gumbos.
Okay.
So okra is a separate gumbo all unto itself. So it's not in my chicken and sausage or in my seafood.
Really? You don't put it in the soup? Oh,
No.
wow. Okay.
Okra gumbo is actually more like a stew. Gumbo is more like a soup.
Okay.
So when you have okra gumbo, it's more like a stew over rice with
Okay.
shrimp and sausage and okra. A wonderful dish, but not gumbo in the traditional
That's
sense.
good to know. So we will never taste any okra.
Not in any of my gumbos.
Okay, wow.
Now you may taste okra,
Yeah.
but I will be making okra for you separate.
Yeah,
It
okay.
will not be in my seafood gumbo or my sausage.
Okay.
Hey Troy, thanks for doing this. This has been really wonderful. I'm so grateful that you're on the front lines of this fight in Louisiana and on voting rights and protecting what has been stripped away. You're right that this is a moment that's truly complicated and frustrating, and a piece of it is that we are losing rights, and it's going to require us to be part of a crew that gets those rights back, and it's not easy work. And so I'm grateful for you.
Thank you, man. I've enjoyed being with you guys. Keep this going. This is a fantastic dialogue.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining in. As always, rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time we fly in, we'll see you soon.
Y'all keep watching. See you next week.